Daily Fantasy Show brought to you by DFO. I am Josh. That is Avery.
Yeah, that's Daddy.
Yep. It is bright by my door here. Maybe I have to throw on the shades. All right. Let's do this.
I got more toys.
We got more toys?
Hey.
No, I can't wear the shades. All right. So we got a pretty sweet 12-game slate tonight. God, the sun is right in my dome piece. This is definitely a really good slate to mass entry, I think. There's a lot of really good spots. It was really hard to cut down to one lineup today. I'll be honest. There's so many good spots. I had to do a lot of digging. I had to really cut down. I had to make some sacrifices on my one lineup. This is definitely a really good one for multiple teams. So, let's go over the rules real quick. I'm going to go game by game for all 12 games. You can ask questions about the game I'm currently on. You ask a question that does not pertain to the game that I'm on, I will ignore it until the end, but I'm not ignoring you completely. I will see it and I will remember it, but I want to stay on the game that I'm on. Cool? Cool. The sun is right in my eyes. Right in my eyes.
Yeah.
It's just the process that I've always been since I started playing DFS. I always was a one lineup guy. I'm not very good at making multiple lineups. I stick to what I'm good at and I triple down on it. I think that's what you have to do. Find what you're good at and stay there. Don't be someone you're not. Wow, the sun's right in my fucking eye. All right. Let's hop right in. Let's do this 12 games here. Yeah. Let's have a little life advice here. There's always someone holding you back. You got to have that conversation with that person that's holding you back. It's probably your girlfriend, boyfriend, mom, dad. Say, fuck it. This is what I want to do, and I'm fucking doing it. Right, Avery? Yeah. No, I have not, Adam. The feng shui of this spot is just, you know what? Too cool for school. Let's go. Get the hair behind my ears. You know what? Adam's right. I'm moving 1 foot to my left here. No, it's right in my face then. I went right. That's why. All right. First game of the night, we have the Calgary Flames traveling to Boston to face the Bruins. We don't need roads. Kind of, what are we in? Communist Russia? Tuukka Rask against David Rittich. In a vacuum, I like Boston tonight. The problem is there's 24 teams playing, and I don't really want to pay $21,000 and change on DraftKings for Boston. They're also the most expensive at FanDuel at $23,000 and change. And while I think they're in a really good spot, they're one of my favorite plays tonight. They're a little too pricey for me, especially the way I built today. I will say, because of their price, they're probably going to be a little bit lower owned. Yes. They're probably going to be a little bit lower owned than they normally are in a good spot. So maybe paying up for Boston could be contrarian tonight. And, it could be a good spot. They do have one of the highest expected goals for on the slate. There's only 2 teams over 1. Boston, I haven't looked at it recently, but when I was prepping, I know Boston was close to 1. Boston 1 was close to 1. If I'm going to use Boston, I don't know. I don't know if I want to use the second line because there's still 14,000. Yeah, I mean, some people just cross them off because they're too expensive. So I think that realistically, I mean, it's a 12-game slate. So outside of what, Columbus, who's going to probably push 15-20%, everybody else is going to be under 10%. So if you can get Boston, say, at like 6-7%, I think, if you're comfortable with a second line, say if you're using like this is just an example. I'm not too high on them tonight. Like Anaheim too, like the Kessler line, or the Columbus second line, or Carolina's second line, like something like that. If you can get comfortable with a secondary cheap line with Boston, I think they're a very good play. And again, like I don't know if I want to use. I don't know if it's the correct play, but it is more likely than not a. I mean, obviously, Boston could break the slate, score like 4 line goals on the top line. It's possible, but you would still have to get your second line right, and you are going to have to use a pretty cheap line. Does it scare me that I'm fading Boston 1? Yes, but not as much as I'm scared of fading a couple other teams. Boston 2, they're 14,000 a full stack. I mean, for that price, there's many other options that I'd rather go than Boston 2. I will say, if you are using Boston 1 on FanDuel, Charlie McAvoy is only 3,900, so he's literally almost min price. So like that allows you to get you a little salary relief over there. So I don't mind using defensemen for Boston. I like using Krug. I like using McAvoy. What happened?
This is outside. It's Wolf.
Oh yeah.
Are you scared, Daddy? Huh?
No, I'm not scared. Are you scared?
Yeah.
Yeah. On the flip side of this game, yeah, I don't mind using McAvoy as a one-off either. I mean, if you want exposure to this game, it is David Rittich. Mike Smith is banged up. I will say Rittich, just because you never heard of him doesn't mean he's bad. I think he's a pretty decent goalie. But going into Boston's always a tough spot. On the flip side, Calgary 1 kind of gets wiped out here. They're going to be facing Bergeron. I really don't have interest in stacking against Bergeron. That's not my forte. What?
It's big at the side.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Oh, no.
So if I'm making multiple lineups, like 10, 15, like over 10, I think, there is some merit to Calgary too. They're not really high on my list of teams that I want to use today. I think, I'm probably on a full fade of Calgary. If I was making multiple lineups, I definitely have some Boston. I do like the second line, though. They're still fairly cheap. They're producing now. Matthew Tkachuk is going to get under someone's skin for sure today. But, goalies in this game, Rittich at 7,000. Don't you start with that damn Baby Shark song. I've been singing it for a week.
I got the Band-Aid.
He's got Band-Aid, so he's happy. So Rittich is 7,000 on DraftKings in a GPP. That's just a no thank you from me. Yeah, thank God he hasn't gotten to Frozen yet. So Rittich probably is a fade for me. 7,000 is a bit enticing, but going against Boston in Boston, not really thrilling. Tuukka Rask on the flip side, 8,200. It's a bit pricey for me, but that's all right. I don't know where you dropped it, but Tuukka Rask at 8,200. It's a bit pricey, but I think you can make a case in any format tonight. I'm not super high on Tuukka, but again, home favorite. Yeah, you wish everyone fade Columbus. They're gonna be the chalk tonight. So yeah. Whee! If really you want to go down narrative street, Dougie Hamilton's back in Boston. Come on, dude. Got it. So play him if you want for narrative street. But let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the, yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's move on to the, yeah. Let's move on to the next game of the night. We have Tampa Bay Lightning traveling to Buffalo to face the Eichelus Sabres. 8K Luis Domingue against 6,700 Chad Ochocinco Johnson. This game is garbage. Like, garbage. Buffalo mixed up their lines. They're just a trash can of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, Avery agrees. And,
Good.
yeah, I can't pay $8,000 for Luis Domingue. If he was like 7,300, I'd say, fucking, let's do it. Let's go all in on Luis Domingue. But at 8,000 and the way the Buffalo lines are set up,
Yeah, Buffalo on.
7.6 on FanDuel. Yeah, I'd be more apt to use him on FanDuel, but 8,000 on DraftKings, this is what worries me about Domingue. One, he's on the road. 2, Tampa's on a back-to-back. 3, the way Buffalo's lines are, the shot volume that Buffalo's going to get is it's going to be low. Like, I'm just scared that, Buffalo puts up 1 or 2 goals and only has like 21 shots. And that's what worries me. So yeah, FanDuel at 7,600. Go for it. Like, I'm down for that in GPPs. But on DraftKings, I can't pay 8,000 for him. This is not a great spot in either format. I think people are going to get drawn in just because of how bad the Buffalo lines are, but then they forget how bad the Buffalo lines are, and they're probably going to have issues, shooting the puck. That being said, Tampa Bay, even though they're back-to-back on the road, is in a good spot tonight. I really like that second line, the Kucherov line with Killorn and Point. You want to use the Stamkos line. I'm cool with that. Like, Tampa Bay, like, fading Tampa Bay scares me more than fading Boston tonight, just because of how bad Buffalo is. I think Killorn is viable for cash because he is on the power play. He's on the line with Kucherov. So yeah, fading Tampa is scary. Like, that's the team I don't want to be fading tonight, but I am. So yeah, I think Killorn's definitely viable in cash. Kucherov is always chalky. That dude is, since he's came off the fourth line like 4 years ago. Actually, last year he kind of slid under the radar until, Stamkos went down, and then, he carried the team on his back. I don't know if Hagelin's a good cash play. I guess there's a case for it. He is only 3,600 on DraftKings, but I'd much prefer to use a Killorn. I'm not going to bash him, though. So, because I'm a nice guy. Anyway, Sergachev is really cheap. If you can fit Hedman, I think you do it. 6,400 is a bit pricey, but I think you can do it. I mean, the problem is there. Letang is 5,900. Or no, Letang's 5,800. Carlson's 5,900, and then Burns is only like 900 more than Hedman. So you're kind of in no man's land a bit with Hedman. But I think that maybe reduces the ownership there in GPPs. Sergachev's only 4,000, so he sees power play 2 times, so I think it's a good value play. He's even cheaper on FanDuel, I believe, so I'd go for it there. Buffalo. I mean, their even strength lines are just so bad, and on top of that, they're just a terrible team. You want to play Ryan O'Reilly, I think, you can. It's not... Yeah, Ryan O'Reilly's never coming off the ice. Who the hell is he even with? Let me look. He's with Benoit Pouliot and Sam Reinhart. Like, come on. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I mean, Pouliot at 2,800 is interesting. There aren't even like defensemen that are that cheap. Why did I just go into that? What are we doing here? So I mean, like, if you want to use Ryan O'Reilly with Reinhardt and Pouliot, I think that is a strict MME play. I would not be like, yeah, let's do it in one lineup. That being said, I think Ristolainen, if I mean, he's awful on his own end, but he's going to play like 106 minutes tonight. Scandella is going to never come off the ice. Yeah, so is Gilmore for the Rangers. Gilmore's 2,800. Yeah, Pionk is 2,900. Yeah, I mean, Jesus. If I'm going to use Buffalo, which I'm not really want to do, at least Gilmore can skate. He actually has some wheels. Anyway, like if you're gonna use Buffalo, which is not on my like on top of my list of shit to do today, using the power play isn't the worst thing possible. If you're making 20 lineups, you have a couple. But other than that, like I'm more apt to use a Ristolainen, something like that. So let's move on to the next game of the night. This one's going to be pretty chalky. We have the Columbus Blue Jackets traveling to Strong Island to face the Islanders. It's going to be Yaroslav Halak against more than likely Sergei Bobrovsky. So let's talk about this game. Yeah, fuck. No one's in play in this game, right? No. Let's talk about the Islanders first, all right? The Islanders are one of the most expensive stacks of the night tonight. They're 19,300. Yeah, Columbus, Pittsburgh, Sharks, probably be pretty chalky. God, I hope people pay 8,500 for Jones. But we'll get to that. I don't want to get off topic here. So, like, the Islanders' top line is one of the more expensive. No, don't you do that. It's one of the most expensive stacks tonight. They're right around the same price as the Flyers, the Golden Knights, and the Ducks. The Ducks. But yeah, I mean, the Islanders' top line is always in play. At home, they're going to get, I don't know who they're going to get. I don't even think, they don't really hard match at home. So while, like, I do like the Islanders' top line, I think they might go a little bit overlooked in GPPs. I think I'd rather, if I'm going to pay $19,000 and change, I'm not going to be using the Islanders. They are sneaky, but I'd rather pay the same price and use the Jets. That's just my personal preference. No issue using the Islanders in this game. None. Like if I was making 5 lineups, I'd definitely have a lineup with the Islanders top line. But cutting down, I'd probably go Winnipeg over the Islanders.
Mommy never come at Daddy's house.
Yeah, Mommy's at Daddy's house this morning. It was strange.
He never come here.
Yeah, she never comes here. Islanders second line.
He's at Mommy's house.
I think they're a decent play as well. You want to use Barzal. Obviously, he's awesome to watch. I don't think all of a sudden Washington can't defend. It's been all season they can't defend. Okay. You want your iPad? So, Islander second line is in play, but for me, I think the Columbus top line is probably my favorite line from this game. There's 16,000 and change to full stack. Um, they're gonna be the chalkiest line of the night. I think they're gonna be competing with Pittsburgh. That's for sure. But Dubois, Atkinson, Panarin definitely is going to be up there. They're cheap. Great spot. Always targeting the Islanders is a good thing to do. Zach Werenski is really cheap on DraftKings, so I think Seth Jones goes overlooked. So I think, if you're making the decision between the two, if you can get up to Seth Jones, I'd do it. Otherwise, Werenski. I'm gonna say over just because. Did you see that stat I retweeted the other night? It was like the Islanders have given up more than 37 shots, like 14 of the last 17 games or something like that. Just insanity. So another line that I like from this game is the second line from Columbus. I think they're going to be sneaky in this high ownership game. Wenberg, Foligno, and Bjorkstrand. They don't have like epic power play correlation, but they're only 13,000 and change to full stack. They're a little bit more expensive on FanDuel, but I think you're going to get them at lower ownership in a high ownership game. None of the Islanders' lines scare you defensively. This is going to be a very back and forth game. Yeah, I think you can Josh stack the Jackets. So I do like that second line as well. I think with the second line, I'd be more apt to use Werenski. Just it correlates a tad better. Islanders defenseman. Obviously, Leddy would be my top choice. Boychuk's still coming back. I almost prefer Pulak a little bit over Boychuk, but either are fine. We'll go to the zoo when it's a little bit warmer, okay? Yeah. So Columbus, for me, the defenseman's either Seth Jones, if you can get him in. I think he's going to be a little bit lower owned because Werenski's $1,300 cheaper. If you want to punt, I think David Savard is a decent punt. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the New Jersey Devils traveling to Philadelphia to face the Flyers. Yeah, there's a zoo like 40 minutes from my house. It's nice. They just put in lions and hyenas. It's pretty cool. And the Bronx Zoo is only like an hour from my house. But it's Michael Neuwirth against Keith Kincaid. So I think the Philadelphia top line's in play. They're a little bit cheaper than the Islanders, a little bit cheaper than Winnipeg. But for me, someone just mentioned Philadelphia 2. I think Philadelphia 2 is my preferred play from this game. They're about 3,000 cheaper. It really depends on your build. I do like that top line if you can get them in, if you can get comfortable with the secondary stack, if you're putting like two mid-range stacks together. I think Philadelphia one's definitely up there with as one of the better plays tonight. But if you're looking for a secondary line to fit in with a Columbus or a Tampa or something like that, I think Philadelphia 2 is in a really good spot. Their advanced numbers are just silly. Nolan Patrick is still cheap. Voracek and Simmons are on the power play. I don't even know who they're going to get on the Devils. I would imagine they get the Pavel Zacha one. I don't know. But either way, that's probably advantage. Flyers. Make sure to check AD's line matching article. Sign up and check it out. Dude's the GOAT. On the New Jersey side, I'm kind of, middle of the road for New Jersey 1. I think it's more of an MME play than a 1 lineup to 1-3 lineup play. That being said, you want to have Taylor Hall as a one-off. I think, he's always in play. Neuwirth played really good. Neuwirth played really well his last time out. He is 7,900. Flyers are at home. I think it's a decent matchup for him. I think you can load him up in GPPs, especially if you're using the Flyers. That being said, it's a Taylor Hall or bust for me. If you really, really, really want to go to Arizona or New Jersey too, you can. I'm not really interested in them. Zacha is only 3,500. He's been playing really well lately. If you want to use him in cash for some savings, go ahead. But I'm not really interested. It's really just about Taylor Hall in this game. You want to use Vatanen, okay, but I'm pretty low on the Devils today. Kincaid doesn't interest me at all. So, where is it? Oh, there it is. There you go. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the Ottawa Senators traveling to Pittsburgh to face the Penguins. It's going to be not really, no. I thought about it, though. I did give strong consideration to paying up over $8,000 for goalie today. It's going to be Mike Condon against, I think it's going to be Matt Murray. I think he might have been confirmed. I'm not sure. If he's, I'm sure someone watching knows. Yeah, so the second line of Pittsburgh, Malkin, Kessel, Hagelin. Oh, I just got an alert saying Brian Elliott's out for 6 weeks. That sucks. So yeah, Pittsburgh 2, Malkin, Kessel, Hagelin. In a vacuum, my favorite play of the night. Hagelin's 3,600. He's been decent. I don't know if he's a cash game play, but you can make the case. I think a lot of people are going to do what you just said. They're going to double stack Crosby and Malkin and have a little power play exposure, maybe with Kessel and Letang. It's definitely viable. But for me, my preferred play in this game is Pittsburgh 2. They're probably my overall favorite play of the night. They're going to be chalky. They're going to be right up there with Columbus. There's obviously ways to differentiate there. And, at this point, I don't like fading my favorite play because of ownership. I just look to differentiate a little bit in my lineup. And that's fine. If you want to use, Pittsburgh 1, that's okay too. I definitely prefer the Malkin line tonight. I just don't really like Crosby's line mates. He's more of a power play stack for me. I mean, they are fairly cheap. They're a little under 16,000 a full stack. Well, just because I always fade Pitt doesn't mean I don't like them. I mean, I usually like them. It's just I just don't use them. But yeah, Pittsburgh 2, Pittsburgh 1. If you need a little bit of salary relief, I think people are going to go with the Crosby Malkin route. If you can fit in Letang, I think he's due. Adam's a Senators fan, and he watches all the Senators games. I'm sorry. But the Senators do give up a lot of point shots, and Letang is due if he ever needed a good game. This would probably be the one. He has a decent price as well. On the Senator side, I'm not really high on the Senators tonight. I never am. That second line is just really cheap, though. Stone, Brassard, and Dzingel. I think if you're going to use a line from Ottawa, it would be that one. If you want to leave off Dzingel and add Carlson, I think that's fine. Or add in a Hoffman for power play. It's not on the top of my things to do. It's more of an MME play as a cheap line. Pittsburgh has has improved defensively as the season went on. I like Matt Murray in the cage tonight. He has 8,200. Ottawa or Buffalo? Ooh. I go Ottawa. They're, Rask or Murray GPP, I probably go Rask. Or, excuse me, Murray. I like Matt Murray better than Tuukka Rask tonight. I think he's viable in all formats. If you want to use Matt Murray in cash, I think that makes sense. GPPs as well. He's a little pricey for me, though. Mike Condon at 6,900 is a very risky proposition. I don't know if I have interest there. If you're using the Senators and you really want to use Condon for the correlation, I'd say that's the only way I'm using Condon tonight. That even scares me. But at 6,900, if he does sneak a win, it's going to pay off. But other than that, I'm not really interested. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We're still in the 7 o'clock games here. We have the LA Kings traveling to Carolina to face the Hurricanes. Okay, we're almost done. Then we'll go upstairs, okay? Yeah. But that's not surprising. I said they improved defensively. I didn't say they're good defensively. They've definitely shored some things up. Like early in the season, it was just like stack against the Penguins, stack against the Penguins. Now you have to like give it a little bit of thought. So LA Kings against Carolina Hurricanes is going to be Johnny Quick against Cam Ham Ward. Gabrick's back in the lineup for the Kings. It is Tanner Pearson, Adrian Kempe, and Marian Gabrick. That line doesn't do anything for me. They've been pretty bad. The offense in this game doesn't really excite me too much. I think I'd prefer to use the goalies in this game. I'm not a huge fan of what Carolina did to their lines. I know, Skinner has some decent line mates now, but it doesn't really excite me too much. I don't know. Carolina always has a high shot volume. I think that puts Johnny Quick in play in GPPs for me. If you want to use Carolina, okay. If it's really a matter of preference to you. I don't really have a strong lean to one of their even strength lines until they mixed it up. So, let me take a look. Aho is with Skinner now, with Stempniak, which is kind of Stalls with McGinn and Lindholm, which is kind of Rask is with Teravainen and Justin Williams. That would probably be my favorite full line. Rask, Teravainen, Williams. If I'm going to use a mini, I go Aho and Skinner with Falk or Slavin. But other than that, I'm not thrilled about these even strength lines, so I'm probably going to fade there. On the Kings side, I don't if I'm going to use the Kings, which is in a one lineup, I'm probably not. I'd probably go Kopitar with Toffoli and Muzzin or Martinez or Doughty. I definitely want to get exposure to one of the defensemen. But really, the Kings aren't really high on my list either. The second line, Kempe, Pearson, Gabrick, it just doesn't really do too much for me. I think there's better spots to spend that salary. So for me, both goalies are in play in GPPs. I think Quick is a little better GPP play than Ward. He's going to see a higher shot volume. I think this is a winnable game for the Kings. But both goalies are in play for sure in GPPs. Let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the Anaheim Ducks traveling to Detroit to face the Red Wings. It's going to be John Gibson against Jimmy Howard. I still can't get out of my mind how bad the Red Wings collapsed against the Islanders the other night. Gibson melted down against the Sharks too, man. That was fucked. But he had a shutout going with like 7 minutes left, and then he just folded like a lawn chair. But what was I saying? Oh, so yeah, I still can't believe how bad Detroit collapsed. They gave up 4 power play goals in 3 minutes 37 seconds, but still Their defense is not very good at all. I like the Ducks top line tonight. They're a little over 19,000. That puts them in the range of the Islanders, the Golden Knights, Winnipeg, teams like that, the Flyers around there. So I do like them. All those teams around 19,000 are just in really good spots, like the top line. So that's why it's really hard to narrow down on one lineup here, because there's just so many good spots around the same price. You're gonna have to cut out somebody. But I do like that top line for the Ducks. I expect them to bounce back after the Sharks game. I after like Pittsburgh, the Sharks, and maybe Tampa and Columbus, I don't think you're gonna see any line over 10%. I think Anaheim, you probably get them around 6 to 8%. I don't think anything. Ownership is a big worry tonight. So you might even get them 4 or 5%. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I like the Anaheim top line tonight against Jimmy Howard. And if you want to go back to, people have been talking about the Kessler line. I don't know. That line just really doesn't do anything for me. Kessler looks like he's hurt. Cogliano doesn't do too much. Silverberg's decent. I mean, that line's super cheap, so if you want to go there, okay. I'm not pumped about it. I'd rather use the third line Anaheim. It's a little bit more expensive, but Henrique and Case, I know that's not how you pronounce it, would be my preferred play there. So, defenseman for the Ducks, obviously, if you can get Cam Fowler in, I'd do it. If not, Lindholm for $800 cheaper is a decent play. Yeah, Kasha, whatever. I'm phonetically spelling it. Brandon Montour at 3,300 is a decent punt. He doesn't see too much ice time compared to the other guys anymore, but at 3,300, you don't need the world here. Josh Manson if you want block shots. On the Detroit side, that top line's in play for me. They're kind of middle of the road. I even prefer like the Columbus second line. What are you doing, Avery? I prefer the Columbus second line over the Detroit top line. It is a little bit price difference, but that top line of the Wings have been playing pretty well. Nyquist, Zetterberg, and Mantha. So if you're not using Johnny Gibson, I think you can have some exposure there. You want to use the second line because they burned you last time out. Okay. Not really too high in them. It would really be Detroit 1, and it's more of an MME play for me. You want to use Mike Green, 4,400. Detroit defensemen really don't do too much for me. Trevor Daley at 3,200 is okay. Cronwall's at 3,000. He had his ceiling game of the decade because he's 107 years old. Last time out, if you want to chase points there, it's okay. For me, John Gibson at 7,800 is a road goalie I'm looking at in GPPs. I think that's a decent price for him. I know he kind of burned everybody the last time out, but I think this is a very winnable game for the Ducks. Jimmy Howard 7,200 is cheap, especially being at home. If you're using Detroit, I think you can correlate there. I don't know if I'd plug him in as a one-off goalie. That's not something I would probably do. But at the price, I think, if you're on him, I think you can take the stab there. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the St. Louis Blues traveling to Nashville to face the Predators. We got Pekka Rinne against Carter Hutton. I think a team that definitely goes overlooked tonight. I really don't know how great of a spot they are actually in. They're a bit pricey. It is Tuesday if you want to go the Forsberg Tuesday narrative. But the Nashville top line, I think, definitely goes overlooked tonight. They're right around the same price as all those $19,000 lines. They're a little bit under. But Johansson, Forsberg, Arvey. I think that... Ow, it bit my tongue. What the fuck? I think they're in a pretty decent spot. I think Carter Hutton at 7,400 may draw some interest to people who have been on the Hutton train. I do like Nashville 1. It's just hard for me to get them in one lineup. There's a bunch of other teams I would want to get in before that. That being said, I think a lot of people think that way. I haven't seen any Bob confirmation yet. That being said, I think Nashville definitely goes overlooked tonight. I think you get them 3, 2, 3, 4, 5%. They're in a decent spot. They're in a, I don't know. The Blues are in an okay spot. I don't like using teams in Nashville. You want to use the second line. Okay, I kind of prefer the second line, but Patrick Berglund doesn't really do too much for me. I do like the combination of Braden Shen and Schwartz. The top line, Stasny, Steen, Tarasenko is okay. Tank is under 7,000 now. I think it's going to get him for some single bullet ownership because of that price. The same price as Philip Forsberg. I'm just not super high on the Blues tonight. For me, it's like Nashville 1 with PK Subban or Ryan Ellis or Yossi. Or even the second line, Turris, Fiala, Craig Smith. I'm not super high on them. They're a little bit expensive. I do like, if you really need to punt, I kind of do like that third line, Bonino, Hartnell, and Yarncroc. They're just really cheap, and I think I prefer to use them than Arizona if I'm deep diving tonight. Again, deep diving. Is there something going on or no? I haven't seen anything. But if you want to use like a Colton Pyarko, I think that makes sense at 5,000. Oh, Nash rumors, yeah. I mean, I don't think he gets moved until the deadline. That's probably going to be a little bit complicated trade because he does have a no-move clause, so they're going to have to ask him to waive it. Pietrangelo is under 6,000 again, so I mean that's a decent price for him. Vinny Dunn at 3,400. He's more of a power play. I mean, he doesn't. I mean, I don't mind him in even strength, but in this matchup, I'd look elsewhere tonight. Goalies in this game, Pecorine at 8,100 is a GPP play for me. I'd probably avoid him in cash because the Blues do, even though the Blues have been struggling lately, this is a rivalry game. This is a division game. It could get out of hand. Not that I think it will, but I'd probably pump the brakes in using Rene in cash. GPP for sure. Hutton, if you're using Blues, okay. I don't believe in Carter Hutton. There's people who do. Yeah, buddy. You want to put that on? Yeah. So, like, if you believe in Hutton, you're using Blues, correlating makes sense. I'm not a huge fan. Yeah, but I can't reach it. I can't reach it, bud. I'm almost done, then I'll get it, all right? Yeah. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the New York Rangers traveling to Minnesota to face the Wild. It's going to be Devin Dubnyk against Hank the Tank Henrik Lundqvist. So if you follow my buddy Adam on Twitter, you saw those ridiculous numbers that New York 1 has together, and they're very impressive. I think, people are going to be shied away because they're going to be facing Koivu. But the Koivu line has been low-key not shut downy, if that makes sense. You look at them when you're like, oh, they're facing the Wild, they're facing Koivu, that's a shutdown line. It hasn't been so recently. So I do think the Rangers' top line is in play. They're like 15,000. They're much more expensive on FanDuel at like 19,000. So I'm more apt to use them on DraftKings. I think they're definitely going overlooked. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I loaded them in wrong. But normally I don't like going against. Listen, did you see the numbers on the Rangers one? It's really impressive. That being said, as long as this is the Rangers team constituted, I am stacking against. Maybe I made a mistake with the Koivu numbers. It's definitely possible. Maybe I was looking at the stall numbers. Yeah, it's not a core play, but I definitely would take a shot on them. Yeah, but they're not awful, and I'm not going to argue that. My point was they were at times like one of the premier lockdown lines, like up there with like Kopitar and Bergeron, and you'd avoid Mikko Koivu at all costs. Now it's like not recommended, but you can get away with it, you know? Yeah, so as good as that Rangers line is, the Rangers' defensive pairings are just awful. So that also puts Minnesota in play for me. The top line is in play for sure. They are going to go against the Zibanejad line, but you saw their defensive pairing. It's Brady Shea with Pionk. Holden is with Gilmore, and someone else is up too. The name that he's not even in the player pool. It's just ugly. So yeah, Minnesota one's in play. Who? Brady Shea? Oh, D'Angelo, yeah. Tony D'Angelo and Sproul, yeah. I think D'Angelo's in play for the Rangers. So is Brady Shea. I mean, those are the two defensemen I'd use from the Rangers. But those pairings puts Minnesota firmly in play. I like both the second and third lines as well. I'm not a huge fan of Matt Cullen, but the Coyle-Parisi combo does kind of excite me a little bit. The second line, I think, is a decent play as well. They're going to get... The problem is I think they're going to get the Hayes line, which doesn't really scare me defensively, but they are decent. Yeah, Gradner is not bad. He's fast. He's on pace for... Oh, yeah, I forgot. That's Sproul from the Red Wings, right? They traded for him. I forgot. At 2,500, he does have a pulse, and he is playing, so, if you need it, yeah. I mean, if he gets you a half a point, you take it at 2,500. So Minnesota 2, I think, is a decent play as well. It does worry me a little bit that they're going up against Hayes. Not the best matchup. Ennis is better than people give him credit for. I'd much prefer Charlie Coyle on that line, but Stahl, Niederreiter, and Ennis is a pretty decent line. If you're going defenseman, I'd probably go Spurgeon, Dumba, then Suter. If you need a punt, Rice Pilaf is in play. What the hell's his name? Olofsson. I'll call him Rice Pilaf. Olofsson, yeah. He's 3,000. I think he's in play. Time on ice worries me a little bit there, but yeah.
The animals are missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, look.
I think they're in your room, bud. So Devin Dubnyk, 8,300.
Let's go from Lions.
Yeah. We're almost done, then we'll go do it, okay? 8,300 is a bit pricey for me to pay in GPPs because I do like the Rangers top line. I think this is a winnable game for the Wild, so 8,300 in cash I think you can do. Henrik Lundqvist, 7,100. Really cheap. Going to see a lot of shots. And that's where the good stuff ends, right? I think, Henrik played great against Winnipeg. But how many high danger chances did the Rangers give up? Is Hank going to be that sharp again? I don't know. 7,100, you can take a chance if you're using the Rangers. I think, you can do that. For his skill set and his price, I think it's worth a flyer. Yes, goalie skill doesn't matter.
Upstairs.
Okay. But, yeah. Other than that, I'm probably going to fade Hank. Um, hold on. Messages. Heard yet, sorry. Okay. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the Washington Capitals traveling to Winnipeg to face the Jets. Going to be Connor Hellebuck against Braden Holtby. Sorry. Okay. Washington and Winnipeg, Hellebuck against Holtby. I think, Winnipeg 1 is going to go overlooked tonight. God, sorry. So I think Winnipeg 1 definitely goes overlooked tonight, and they're one of my favorite plays. I think they're going to be around 5% tonight, give or take. I don't think ownership is going to really matter. I haven't seen it. They said the same lines as the last game. They didn't do rushes this morning. So I think that means Scheifele with Perot and Wheeler. Love it. If you can fit him in with Bufflin, do it. If not, Tyler Myers makes sense. And so does Josh Morrissey. If you want to go to the second line, I think they're in play as well. Little, Line, and Ehlers. I think there's a misnomer that Washington's a good defensive team, and I think people are going to overlook them because of Holtby's price, and I hope they do. This is a good spot for the Jets. The top line is implied very well in terms of goal totals. Holtby at 7,200, I think, gets some ownership. Well, Detroit isn't great. They're not a very good team. So, I love the Jets tonight. On the flip side, I also like Hellebuck. On the flip side, you want to use... The Capitals mix up the lines again. They're scratching Vrana. They put Connolly back on the second line, which I don't really like. Wilson's still on the top line with Backstrom and Ovechkin. If you want to go there for an MME play, okay. Not one of my favorites, but obviously Ovechkin's always viable. So you want to use Carlson, you want to use Jews as a punt, okay. But Washington isn't very high on my list tonight. This is a Winnipeg game for me. I think Hellebuck, GPPs, you can make the case for cash, although it is a tad scary going against Ovechkin, but it's there. So let's move on to the two late games of the night. We have the Chicago Blackhawks traveling to Vegas to face the Golden Knights. It's going to be, I don't even know. I think Fleury against Glass or Forsberg. Yeah, I think Kelly's going to be pretty low tonight with everyone jammed in around 8,000. Sorry, just give me a second. I have to respond to this message I just... Yeah, I think Fleury's okay. The thing, I'll get to him in a second. I think Fleury's okay. If you look at Chicago 1, Tays, I know I had a question about Chicago 1, Tays, Sod, and Duclair. I think they're definitely viable. I think most people are going to overlook them because they haven't done diddly. But if you really dive into it, the biggest issue is their shooting percentage. Like, they're getting a ton of scoring chances. So there's going to be positive regression to the mean here, and that's a tough thing to predict that's going to happen, but I think that makes them a decent GPP play tonight. Obviously, I'd avoid them in cash, but being due is a bad reason to play somebody. But that also makes them a good GPP play, if that makes any sense. Yeah, Flower 8.4 is okay. I'm not going to pay 8,400, 8,500 for goalies. That's just not what I do. There's much better options, 83, 82, 81, 8,000 tonight than Fleury. Vegas at home is always in play for goalies, though. Could be like a 3-2 game. Yeah, yeah. Being dude will keep them well owned. Chicago. Yeah, I'm probably not. If I was making a bunch of lineups, I'd probably not go above Murray and GPPs. Maybe I'd have a share or two of Dubnik, but that's really about it. Vegas one's in play for me. They're in that mix with the Flyers, Islanders, Flyers, Ducks, like right there. And I think they're definitely viable. They're just under 20,000 the full stack, but they're right there with those other teams. And I think they're definitely in play. I don't know. They do have the highest or the highest expected goals for on the slate. Yeah. Yeah. They're right behind those three, I think, yeah. And it's weird. I haven't heard much steam about them, but if you're throwing numbers at me, like salary with their expected stuff, their team totals, the implied shit, I would expect them to be chalk, but I don't know if they will be. I think they're going to be pretty decently owned. I think they're definitely going to be behind Columbus, Pittsburgh, Sharks, and Tampa. I wouldn't be shocked to see them around 10%. Yeah, so did I. When I woke up, I was like, "Whoa, Vegas suck." But yeah, it's getting dark. Yeah. Well, the animals are sleeping, so maybe we can go to the zoo tomorrow. Okay? Okay, we'll go lay down. We have one more game, then we'll go lay down. So yeah, Vegas in play probably around, I would say 8 to 10%. That would be my guess on ownership. You want to use the Vegas second line. People like using them, but they're 18,000 and change. There's better spots than that tonight. You want to use Nate Schmidt with Vegas 1. That's cool. You want to use Shea Theodore. You want to use Colin Miller. I think those three are viable with Vegas 1. Again, in a vacuum, I like Fleury tonight. But that price is a little... Yeah, one more game, bud. Yeah, I think so too. But 8,400, tad pricey. You want to do it in cash, fine. GBPs, no thank you. Let's move on to the last game of the night. We have the Arizona Coyotes. The Coyotes traveling to San Jose to face the Sharks. Yeah, they're facing the Sharks. It's going to be 8,500 Martin Jones. Like, give me a fucking break. It's either going to be Ronta on a back-to-back or Scott Wedgwood. I think, the Sharks are definitely going to get ownership here. I think more of the ownership is going to go to Pavelski, Meyer, and Donskoy. My personal preference is Couture, Hurdle, Burns. I think they'll be the lower owned, and I think there's a slightly better play. But I'm not... You shouldn't trust Jones, especially 8,500. Wedgeworth's confirmed? Okay. Don't play 8,500 Martin Jones. I don't care if he gets a 31 save shutout. Even if he gets 12 DK points in GPPs, it's not a good play. I'm sorry. There's no point in spending 8,500 on a goalie, let alone Martin Jones. That being said, the Sharks' top two lines are definitely in play if you can get Burns in, do it. This does seem like a, a huge letdown spot for the Sharks. Classic Sharks. I don't know if I could fade them, though. This is a really good spot. Burns, you can fit him. Pickles, Vlasic. Vlasic's in play.
Hello, Daddy. Look.
But yeah, I don't know if I want to use Arizona on the road on a back-to-back. I'd be more apt to use the defenseman Demers, Chikrin, Goligoski. Goligoski's been on a tear. His price has barely moved.
Had some more cookie. Dad, had some more cookie. How about this one?
Like I said, if I'm digging super deep, I'm probably going Nashville 3 before I hit any of the Arizona lines. You know, the Arizona top line, if you want to go there, they're back-to-back on the road. You want a cheap line. Okay, I mean, I'm not thrilled about it. It is Martin Jones, though. He has under 9 save percentage since the new year. So, yeah, Goligoski might be chasing a little bit. So, it is like a late hammer chase. That is the 12-gamer. We did it. We did it.
We did it.
Any questions?
Yeah. Question orange.
Whoa. Okay, first, GPP goalie on FanDuel. I think Domingue's in play on FanDuel at 7,600. I wouldn't be like pumped about it. I think Matt Murray's in play. I think Pekarine's in play. Hellebuck, Neuwirth, Quick, Gibson, Ward. And then that's probably it. Punt Demon, how low do you need to go here? Any value goalie? Yeah. On which site?
Bring that egg in here. Bring that egg in here.
Okay. DK. Yeah, Bob's definitely going to see some shot volume tonight. He's 7,500. If you really need to go deep here, Lundqvist is a tad scary, but I'd rather go Lundqvist than Halak. DeMello, yeah. You can go DeMello, I think, Olofsson or Rice Pilaf, whatever his name is. Goalie, if it's Anton Forsberg, I think that's going to be a decent punt goalie for his price. I just don't know if Chicago could go into Vegas and win. That's the only thing that is going to keep me off that Forsberg. It's peeling in his itch area. What else we got? Favorites, okay. We'll throw ownership to the wind here. Pittsburgh 2. Pittsburgh, Tampa 2. Boston, Islanders, and the Jets would probably be in my top. Oh, and Columbus, obviously. But ownership on a 12-gamer doesn't really bother me, even if Columbus and Pittsburgh are above like 15%. The second line won't really be a factor. Huh?
I'm table.
You want to play with Band-Aids on the table?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Is Chicago 2 in play?
Go upstairs. And go upstairs. And go upstairs.
You know, one of my favorite plays tonight. If you're making one lineup, I'd lean towards no. If you're making multiple lineups, I think yes. They probably be in play. They're only like 16 and a half. They're right around the same price as the Tarasenko line, and you know, I almost prefer the Kane line to the Tarasenko line tonight, but they're right around the same for me, middle of the road.
Where are you going to throw, Daddy? Look at this.
So I had this debate this morning. I think they're both good plays. I think Winnipeg's a little bit okay. I think Winnipeg's a little bit better play. I think Minnesota's going to be a little bit higher owned, if that helps. I'd probably keep Perot in. If you can get Bufflin in too, I mean, I'd do that as well. But I don't mind, punting defenseman there. I'm a big Perot guy. All right, guys, we have done it. You want to come say bye?
Bye.
Here, come here. Get.
Bye. Bye.
All right, guys, we're gonna hit the road. Burns or Kessel? Oof.
We're going upstairs.
Burns or Kessel? Woo, that's a toughie.
Coming down.
Burns.
We're going upstairs.
Yeah, both if you can. It's really a toss-up. I'd slightly into Burns. But all right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow, guys.
Bye.
Good luck, everybody.